Welcome back. Today we're unpacking how pop stars are increasingly using their platforms for the feminist movement. Recently, Olivia Rodrigo has announced her all-women festival, Daisy Chain Fields, inspired by artists Sarah McLachlan and Lilith. Join us as we explore other initiatives by pop stars, including Rihanna's Clara Lionel Foundation and more. And they use their platform to fund and amplify social action, which we like to do on this podcast. So, welcome to this episode of Rose Tinted Ceilings, where we break glass ceilings to let girls shine. You're listening to episode 111. Can pop stars change the world?
What a great question, Isabella. And I'm hoping that while you guys listen to this episode, I think we're going to be leading you towards the answer yes, which is shocking because I know some people are very anti celebrities, that kind of pop culture movement where we're kind of almost putting them on a pedestal. I know a lot of people criticize that, and for reasons we've talked about in other episodes, but throughout this, we are going to chat about how some of these pop artists actually have done really great things for women all around the world. So as we talked about, Olivia Rodrigo announced that she's creating an all-women music festival, Daisy Chain Fields, happening in August. So this festival isn't just an all-women festival. 100% of net proceeds are benefiting nonprofit organizations that we're going to tell you all about. 100%. That is super rare. Even we see charities nowadays for anyone to donate that amount of net proceeds too. So I just think it's incredible. But we got to talk about where she gets this idea from a little bit first. So as we talked about in the beginning, Sarah McLachlan was an artist that had this fair called Lilith Fair. So this was a touring music festival that ran from 1997 to 1999 with a brief revival in 2010. So this is a crazy backstory. This was created after Sarah McLachlan was told that two female artists couldn't possibly successfully headline the same concert.
Wow.
It's crazy to think that this is only in the 1990s, because now when you look at any type of music festival, you will see women headlining the same festivals. But back then, this was rare. So she said, I'm not going to let that slide. And she decided to showcase that female musicians could have successful music festivals on their own at a time where music festivals were so male dominated. So she proved that they could headline major tours and attract large audiences. They raised over $10 million for feminist causes. And obviously that inspired a lot of other pop culture artists to make these kind of initiatives. And she kind of inspired this movement towards helping social change. And obviously we're seeing that through Daisy Chain Fields. So as we mentioned in the beginning, she has a giant list of nonprofits that Olivia Rodrigo is partnering with to donate those proceeds to. And here are some of them.
Yes, Maggie, I'm so excited to see this festival pan out and just to see all of the excitement and the female solidarity that's going to come out of this and the good music too. And we have a few nonprofits that we found that Olivia is supporting, and they are just incredible. The first one, we have Baby to Baby, provides diapers, clothing, formula, other essential supplies to children who need it. And we also have Black Mamas Matter Alliance, working to improve Black maternal health and end racial disparities in pregnancy and childbirth. Some great organizations. We also have the Center for Reproductive Rights, using legal advocacy to protect and expand reproductive rights around the world, which is so needed right now. And next we have Freeform, which helps survivors of domestic violence achieve financial independence and long-term safety. So we have a lot that are going with this theme of closing gender disparities and closing that gap. And we also have JPIGO, which improves maternal and reproductive health care by training healthcare workers and strengthening health systems globally. So not only these direct service needs, but also these systemic and policy needs as well.
For sure, and the list isn't done yet. We've also got her partnering with Johns Hopkins Center for Indigenous Health. So this organization partners with indigenous communities to improve health outcomes through research, education, community-led programs in a community that is underrepresented in healthcare. We have the National Domestic Workers Alliance. So they advocate for the rights, fair pay, and protections of domestic workers like nannies, caregivers, housekeepers, who so often go under the radar of protection. We have the National Institute for Reproductive Health. So again, this advances reproductive freedom through policy, advocacy, education, and community organizing. Olivia Rodrigo has spoken out so many times against laws barring reproductive health. So it's really nice to see, she puts her money where her mouth is. I love that about her. And then we have the National Women's Law Center. So this fights for gender justice through legal advocacy, which is so important, as you guys know, on issues like workplace equity, reproductive rights, LGBTQ plus rights. And our final one, which might be the one you guys have heard the most, is Planned Parenthood. So Planned Parenthood provides reproductive health care. They provide contraception, STI testing, cancer screenings, sex health, education, all while advocating for reproductive rights. And after hearing this long list of organizations that the festival is partnering with, I think you get the idea that feminism is not a one shoe fits all kind of vibe. These programs are all so different and they cover such a vast amount of topics, but they're all so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that Olivia's team picks such a diverse group of nonprofits working on different causes and different kinds of actions, but towards the same feminist movement that we were talking about all the time. And I just can't wait to see how these organizations will utilize this platform and this collaboration to be able to extend their actions further. And similarly, I'm a big fan of Billie Eilish, and she has a festival called the Overheated Festival, which I felt immediately reminded by when seeing Olivia's announcement. And it's essentially a something in her tour ecosystem for a climate-focused space for young fans and activists, and it brings together artists, scientists, and organizers to talk about climate anxiety and action, which I thought was super duper unique because not only is it a music festival, she's actually having panel discussions and documentary screenings. So when you're going to watch musicians perform, you also get to listen to these cool educational pieces and artistic pieces about the climate. And I just thought that is really great that she's using her platform to educate and fund at the same time. And it has a super strong focus on youth audiences as well. And I feel that there is such a connection between consumption and just consumerism as a culture, especially in the music industry, which often targets young women, and the feminist movement itself. When we consume, we're often looking at body image issues and so many other issues that come along with environmental issues. And I feel it's just a reminder that they all intersect.
100%. And I love how she's kind of bringing up this topic about how the environment and feminism are not separate at all. Guys, we have an episode on ecofeminism from a few weeks back. Make sure you check that out. The link is so much more obvious. Well, it's not obvious, but it's so much more clear than you might think it is because it's not obvious at the first glance. So shout out Billie Eilish for kind of creating that link and making it stronger and bringing awareness to that. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, for sure.
We have an icon. We have Lady Gaga and her Born This Way Foundation. What an iconic song, what an iconic foundation. So, this was founded in 2012 to support the mental health and well-being of young people and to create kinder, braver communities. That's kind of their tagline. And I want to point out, first of all, 2012. That's like 14 years in the running now before a lot of these pop artists that we were mentioning, like Olivia Rodrigo, Chappell Rowan's headlining, were even in the scene, okay? She's been in this business. So, Born This Way Foundation funds youth-led mental health organizations and community projects. They partner with schools, nonprofits, researchers just to improve the quality of youth mental health resources because there are many resources, but this foundation is helping to make sure it's the most accurate and the most impactful that we can make it. They're running campaigns on encouraging kindness, inclusion, peer support. They're providing free mental health resources and toolkits online. They're conducting youth research to understand what young people actually need when it comes to mental health care. They're partnering with a bunch of organizations that are also focusing on improving the quality of mental health and mental health care. They're distributing millions of dollars in grants and supporting thousands of educators and youth-serving organizations. And again, 14 years in the running has helped normalize the conversations about youth mental health long before it was, I want to say, common in pop culture. And again, I think this would be one of the longest running celebrity foundations that's still actively funding programs to this day. Incredible.
Yeah, and Lady Gaga is just such an iconic name, iconic platform, and I love the work that Born This Way does as well. I've seen a lot of their work spread globally, even though they're focused just in America. So I thought it's just so cool to hear about them and hear more of these kinds of organizations pop up as well. Another icon is Beyonce. Come on, everyone knows
It's
Beyonce. That's our girl.
Beyonce.
Yeah, she's Beyonce, and she has a Be Good Foundation, and this is Beyonce's initiative that uses her music era's tourist platform to fund long-term community investment. So it has a very broad umbrella, a broad portfolio of education, housing stability, disaster relief, and economic empowerment with strong emphasis on supporting Black communities and underserved groups. So I really like that they're not like a single issue charity. They operate through so many different grant programs and partnerships. For example, recovery networks for Hurricane Harvey, wildfire relief, but scholarships for Black colleges and universities as well, and also Minority Supplier Development Council in America, which is business development support for minorities, and also small business funds for Black-owned businesses. So many cool programs of a variety of causes.
I absolutely love that. And the next foundation that I'm going to bring up follows the same theme where they're touching on so many different areas of impact, which is the Clara Lionel Foundation for Rihanna. And as I'm talking, you'll hear, again, they touch on a lot of similar areas, but how they are, like you said, under the umbrella of social justice, which I think is so important. So the Clara Lionel Foundation was founded in honor of Rihanna's grandparents, who are named Clara and Lionel, and the foundation invests in community-led solutions that create long-term change. So there's 5 areas that they kind of focus on the most. So number 1 is climate solutions. Just touching on climate change, how that relates to feminism. Again, ecofeminism. Number 2, women's entrepreneurship. This is one of the newer areas they're touching on, but I thought it was so cool. So rather than simply giving out grants, when they talk about women's entrepreneurship, they're focusing on building long-term economic opportunities for women and making sure they thrive long-term. The 3rd is health access and equity. So the foundation actually began with a grant from Rihanna to expand oncology services at Barbados Queen Elizabeth Hospital, in her hometown, Barbados, of course, and has then broadened its work to improve healthcare access all over the world, but especially in underserved communities. Rihanna, again, from the Caribbean, and a lot of her work through this foundation has been focused in minority groups such as in the Caribbean. And then they focus a lot on future generations. So this is education and youth. One thing I thought was so cool was that they helped girls in Malawi stay in school by providing bicycles to reduce the transportation barrier that can come about,
Wow.
which I think is just such a unique way to make sure girls are getting their education whenever they can. And of course, they're also funding scholarships to, again, a lot of communities in the Caribbean. So similar to Lady Gaga's foundation, this was founded in 2012. So still an active, long-serving foundation that has been built and has been supporting everyone all around the world for years. It's distributed over $100 million in grants. 100 million. And has helped mobilize billions more toward aligned causes. And the unique thing about this foundation is that it's recognized for its community-led funding model, right? So it's giving these local organizations flexibility to tell them, hey, this is the resources we need, here's what support we need, instead of imposing what people talk about as like top-down solutions, like, oh, here's the money, here's what you do with the money. So they've been really praised for being very community-led, community-built, which I think is so cool.
Wow, this episode has just warmed my heart and brought my spirits up as well. I love music. Music has always been a part of my life, and I think music itself is inherently very political as well. So I love that we get to see artists using their platforms and using what they've built, especially when they sing about some of these issues too, and really take action on what they're speaking about. Like you said, put their money where their mouth is, and get to use their platform for good and giving back to their communities. And I just love to see it.
Absolutely. So again, when we go back to the title of this episode, the leading question, I think, again, in my opinion, that the answer is yes. These are huge names that we're talking about. Come on, Beyonce, Rihanna, Lady Gaga, Billie Eilish, these are giant names who know they have so much influence, so much power, and so many maybe young girls listening to their music. And they understand the power that they hold, and they use that in a really, really impactful way that, as we've seen in this episode, benefits a lot of people. So I think looking forward, looking at Olivia's upcoming festival, I am so excited. I feel so moved, and I hope this has just so much long-lasting, great impact on the world.
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening today, and maybe go listen to some of these artists now. I know I will be.